Welcome to today's class. Today we are going to see the evolutionary models, which is also known as your spiral model. So the spiral model comes under your evolutionary models. So now let's understand what is the meaning of your evolutionary model. The software system evolves over time as requirements often change as development proceeds. It means that when we will go to the development stage, that time also our requirement used to get changed. So in that time, what will happen? Our software system again it will get involvement to change all our requirements to proceed further. So in this way, the straight line to a complete end product is not possible. So whenever we will start our any of the product development stage, we cannot proceed as per the the stages whatever has been given for the waterfall model or incremental model. So now always we will go behind and check that if any requirement is there or not. So that is your evolutionary model. That is, there will be some limited version where you can deliver only some kind of your products. You cannot give the whole of the products at a time. So here whenever we are going back and checking all the requirements, again coming back to the next stages and all, this kind of models is known as your spiral model. The first point you can note down is this model possesses the iterative nature of prototyping model and controlled and systematic approaches of the linear sequential model. So this is the first point. It means that it is having the iterative nature, means always a repetitive nature. Always it will go back, check it and again come back. So that is the first point of your spiral model. The second point can say is that this model gives efficient development of incremental versions of software. What is the meaning of this point? It gives that efficient development. It will always, if it will go back and check and again it will come back with the new requirements, then definitely it will give you the incremental version of your software. Always it will provide you the incremental version of the software. You can see here is the point I have written, but I am telling you in a different way. Another point is also there. The spiral model is divided into a number of framework activities, and these activities are denoted by task regions. Okay, so there are variety of task regions are there, which one is also known as your framework activities. One more point, the spiral model is a realistic approach to develop the large scale system of softwares. Okay, so what is the meaning of large scale system? So the large scale system in the sense, whenever we are going to give any of the products, or if you want to understand the problem statement in this evolutionary level, you have to identify each of the levels and then only you are going to proceed for the next levels. Next point, in the initial pass, the product specification is built, and in subsequent passes around the spiral, the prototype gets developed and then more improved version of software gets developed. It means that in the first initial pass, you have to build the product specification and requirement. First, you have to initialize the product specifications and the requirements, and slowly you have to go through the prototypes and then you have to develop the software. There is one more point. During the planning phase, the cost and schedule of software can be planned and adjusted based on feedback obtained from customer evaluation. It means that in your planning phase, when you will reach to your planning phase, that time the software can be scheduled, how to be planned, how to be executed, and you can take the feedback of your customers and you can evaluate on the basis of customers feedback, and if you need any changes you can go back to the initial stage and can proceed further. There is one more point is there. In spiral model, the project entry point axis is defined. This axis represents starting point for different types of projects. When I will show you the diagram, you will understand where the project entry point is defined. So from there only, all the projects has to start to go for the different levels. So here, as I told you, these all are the points described for your spiral model. Moving towards your next slide. No need to write all these things. It is only the about your prototyping things. Now here you can see the evolutionary model of your prototyping. So here what is happening? You can see there is a communication. First you are going to plan, then design, then construction, then deployment, delivery and feedback, then communications. So in this way, this one will be like your prototyping. It is going to fall into this category. But what is happening exactly in your spiral model is, this spiral model is nothing but it is a cyclic approach. Okay, it is a cyclic approach for incrementally growing of a system. What all are the points I told you? That points here I have written, but it is in a descriptive manner. But whatever I told you, that is only in a short form I have told you. So in this cyclic approach, what will happen is there will be some of the stages. It is going to fall on all the stages. So here you can see in the initial stage, first you have to collect all the requirement and the specifications, and slowly you have to go for the next stage. If your your project will demand that it is the feedback whatever has come from your customer, it is not up to the mark, then you have to go back to again to the first stage and you have to do the tasks. So in this way, this is also helpful for your large scale system. So in this way, if you will do on large scale system, then the software will evolve and the process will progress. The process, whatever the stages you are working on to it, it is going to be progress. And risk should be understood and properly reacted to. You have to find out if you are doing on large scale system, then what all are the risk will be there, how you are going to secure your product. So all these things you have to check it out and you need to react also. So this prototyping is used to reduce the risk. Why we are using prototyping? As I told you in the before, here why we are using this prototyping? Because we want to reduce the risk in our spiral model. Now moving towards this slide, this is your diagram. I told you that axis diagram will be the axis point is defined. This is your axis point. Okay, you have to start always all the process from there only. Now here I will tell you some more points. You can note down also. First, going to your customer, we are starting from here, right? Axis project. So here I'm going to start. What is the first one? Communication. You can give the heading as customer communication. What is the meaning of customer communication? In this reason, it is suggested to establish the customer communication. Here, it is going to establish the customer communication. You need to talk with your customer what is about your requirement and the specifications. What is the next one? The next heading you can give planning. So now what is the meaning of planning? All planning activities are carried out in order to define resources, timeline, and other project related activities. What is the meaning of this? You need to estimate the one more point also you can write. It estimates the scheduling risk analysis. Okay, these all are 2 points under your planning. The next one, what is the meaning of this planning now? What you understood from this planning? You have to plan the activities. You have already discussed with your customer. You need to plan the activities and you have to define all the resource timeline. You have to define the times within how much time you need to complete this. So that all are the things you have to do in this planning session. Next is what? As I told you the word as risk analysis, you can give the next heading as risk analysis. So what is the meaning of your risk analysis? The task required to calculate technical and management risk is known as your risk analysis. So what is the meaning of risk analysis? The task required to calculate technical and the management risk. Both the things, technical way, what will be the risk, and in the managerial way, what will be the risk. That calculation part is known as your risk analysis. Moving towards the next one, one more is also there. You can write here like engineering, otherwise modeling. Anything you can write. So what is the meaning of here? What you are going to do? You are going to design here. How we are going to write as a point? You can give the heading as modeling or engineering. What is the meaning of this? In this task, the task required to build one or more representation of applications. So what is the meaning of this one? Here you are going to represent the application in a designed way. So that is the meaning of this modeling or engineering. Now what is the next point? You can give the heading as your construction. So construction means what? You can write all the necessary tasks required to construct or to test, install the application are conducted. What all are the applications are there? To test your environment or to test your code, you have to install it first. Then what you are going to do? The second point on this construction, some tasks that are required to provide the user support are also carried out in this task region. So what you are going to do? The task, whatever the user require, it is going to provide all the user support in this construction. So first thing, you are going to install the application. Next, you are going to give the user support. What is the next one here? Deployment. So now here what we are going to do? In this deployment, or you can say this is a customer evaluation. Here feedback is there, right? So the customer evaluation, you can give the heading as deployment or customer evaluation. And what is the first point under to this? You can write it is obtained and based on customer evaluation required, the tasks are performed and implemented at installation stage. It means whenever we are going to do the installation part, this delivery or this feedback or this deployment or the evaluation, everything is dependent on your installation stage. Second point, towards your deployment, you can write the number of work tasks are carried out depending upon the characteristics of the project. So what is the next point? You have to write the number of work tasks. So whatever the work task we have done, all these things are dependent on the project characteristics. So if you want to write an example here, you can write one example. For a small project, relatively to the small number of work tasks are adopted, but for a complex project, the number of work tasks can be carried out. So if it is a small task, you have to take small resources. If you have complex project or if it is on a large scale, you have to take the work on a large scale basis. So in this way, this is going to work. That is third point. Under to this deployment, you can write down the software engineering team moves around the spiral in a clockwise direction beginning to the core. It means that here the engineers, the developers, those who are developing the software, they have to move in a clockwise direction. Communication, planning, modeling, construction, deployment. If it is not satisfactory with the feedback, go back again. Communication, planning, modeling, construction. So that's the reason this is known as your spiral model. So this is all about your evolutionary model and spiral model. And there is some advantages and disadvantages. You can note down, give the heading as advantages of spiral model. What is the first point in these advantages? The requirement changes can be made in every stage. That is the first point. The requirements, whatever will come, it can change in every stage. The second point will be the risk can be identified and rectified before they get problematic. It means that the risk, whatever we will identify or we will rectify, before they go inside your problematic stage, we have to rectify all the problem has been identified. That is all about your advantages. So now what is the disadvantages? You can give the heading disadvantages or drawbacks of spiral model. What is the first point? It is based on customer communication. As you can see, it is based on customer communication. If the communication is not proper, then the software product that gets developed will not be up to the mark. That is the drawback of your spiral model. Everything depends on your customer communication. Second point, it demands considerable risk assessment. What it demands? It demands considerable risk assessment. If the risk assessment is done properly, then the successful of the product can be achieved or can be obtained. It means that if the risk assessment is, you found the risk assessment, then there is no problem, you can find the successful. This is all about your spiral model. Now, next I will give the difference between your waterfall model and spiral model. What happened actually in your waterfall model and what happened actually your spiral model. You maybe will get 4 marks of question under your waterfall model or in your spiral model. There are some 5 points I will tell you. The first left side you are going to write the waterfall model. In the right side you are going to write the spiral model. So the first point under to your waterfall model is it requires well understanding